We are currently in a golden age of high-quality, 8 and 16-bit inspired action platformers. Many indie developers have graciously spread their ample cheeks to fill this niche in the gaming marketplace with their glistening, brown, steaming coils. Some of the most inspired and fun games I've played in recent years have come from this very genre. There is a dearth of excellent gameplay, visuals, music, and level design delicately inserted into every orifice of these games. So in this video, I'm going over some of the best old-school style action platformers available today.
Grab his dick and twist it!
Oh my god, dude, this is an MMA fight, dude. It's too much.
Twist that dick!
If you had told me just a few years ago that there was going to be a new 2D Ninja Gaiden game, I would have kindly asked you to take your massive balls off my kitchen table. I'm trying to enjoy my spotted dick.
Spotted dick?
But in 2025, the Game Kitchen, developers of the Blasphemous series, have made one of the absolute best games of the year so far. Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is a spin-off of the main Ninja Gaiden series, running parallel to the original NES game, taking place in Japan while Ryu Hayabusa is in America deep-throating deep-fried hot dogs. You play as brand new character Kenji Curvecock, a young ninja fella who must defend Hayabusa village from demons, who want to use the land to open a Waffle House. As you play, you eventually take occasional control of Kumori, a character from a rival clan who has her own moveset and some of the more difficult platforming challenges in the game. Ragebound is very reminiscent of the original Ninja Gaiden trilogy, but with more modern level design. Kenji's main method of attack is his katana, which he uses to slash off demons' tiny wieners. There are some enemies that glow with evil demon juice, and defeating them hypercharges Kenji, greatly buffing the attack power of his next strike. Some enemies are immune to regular attacks and must be fought with this buff. The platforming is on point here. Kenji is able to climb walls and across ceilings, air dash, and pressing jump in the air allows him to do a little spin attack that can be used to keep himself in the air by bouncing off enemies and projectiles. Kumori has her own moveset, which includes more ranged options such as kunai, a chakram, and she can teleport short distances. The Game Kitchen seems to have upped their graphics game since Blasphemous. The sprite work and animation in this game are great. Just regular run cycles and enemy attacks look super smooth and detailed, and the game's bosses have some huge and detailed sprites along with some really cool attack animations. Ninja Gaiden Ragebound seems to have come from a studio with a genuine love of the series, and does a great job bringing the classic Ninja Gaiden gameplay onto modern platforms.
Show me your heart, dun 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 wow. Maybe even your private part, dun 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 wow.
If Mega Man X and Zero spooged all their DNA onto a pumpkin, Gravity Circuit would be the result. You play as a robot named Kai, tasked with taking out his former robot allies after they drink too much chocolate milk and shit on the floor. Just a few seconds of gameplay will show you what this game is all about. Kai lacks any ranged weaponry, but like my personal hero Steven Seagal, he is a master of Aikido. In place of firearms, he has big-ass fists. Combat is comprised of incredibly satisfying punches that have the power of kicks. Instead of firing from afar, you have to find ways to get in super close to enemies so you can stick your finger in their ass. Aside from the basic attack, you can also unlock a variety of easy-to-input special moves to increase your available moveset, such as a super uppercut and the old Texas two-step. Movement in this game is reminiscent of the 16-bit platformers that it's inspired by, with a wall jump and grappling hook used to navigate stages and approach enemies. Instead of acquiring new weapons from each boss, you can find and equip chips that give Kai new abilities such as a downward sword strike and self-healing attacks. There are 12 cheek-slapping levels to play through, each one with its own unique gimmicks and bosses, with plenty of enemies to punch in the face. Everything about the presentation is great here. There's slick animated cutscenes, great music, and excellent movement and animation during gameplay. If you are at all a fan of the Mega Man X classics before they started to suck, check out Gravity Circuit.
What? What am I fighting for?
Panzer Paladin is a side-scrolling action game featuring the luscious labial lips of Penny Pussyfart and her giant mech companion Arnold Assrammer. They work for an organization called Gauntlet that is responsible for keeping the peace on Earth by waging war on disgusting aliens. After a large weapon-like mass lands on Earth, a bunch of demons start pouring out looking to wrangle them hoes. Thus, Penny and Arnold start off on their quest to get rid of them. Gameplay is reminiscent of Zelda 2, except it's actually good. You have high and low attacks, as well as a shield that can block high and low. The most unique thing about the combat is the weapon system. Arnold starts off with just his fists, but he can pick up various weaponry throughout the level. Each weapon has its own durability, so they can't be used forever, and there's a rock, paper, scissors system in place that can give you damage bonuses or debuffs depending on what weapon you and your opponent are wielding. Game progression is similar to Mega Man, with the player able to play any level in any order that they choose. You'll occasionally be molested by the centaur man named the Horseman, who approaches you with his massive horse cock swinging in the wind several times throughout the game, and acts as a mini-boss in some stages. Penny is also able to leave Arnold and set off on her own, though she has much less health and offensive power when alone. She has this little whip that she can use to grapple onto grapple points and swing around. Penny has her own small sections of levels that make up a small bit of the game's platforming challenges and puzzle solving. There's a whole lot to love about this game. The developers obviously have a love for difficult NES platformers, with the base game being quite a challenge, with an optional hard mode unlocked after beating the normal mode. If you're a fan of mecha and massive horsecock, Panzer Paladin is a great game.
I want to be ninja. I want to chop, 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 chow down, take chow down to Chinatown.
Cyber Shadow sees you taking control of a cyborg ninja man named Shadow, who is rudely awoken by this little butt plug machine. There's a synthetic army running around dealing drugs to the community, and members of your clan are trapped inside machines that are constantly draining their sauce for some nefarious reason. It's up to you to rescue them, reclaim their sauce, and get your bottom bitch back. Also, his face explodes sometimes and all the jism falls out. In the early game, Cyber Shadow feels almost exactly like the original Ninja Gaiden. All you have to start with is your katana, and it only attacks a short distance directly in front of you. As you progress through the levels, you unlock more abilities such as ninja stars, fire uppercut thing, and a reverse cavity search. Each of these abilities fills in some sort of weakness that Shadow has, such as giving you some ranged and overhead attacks, and a downward attack can be used to keep you in the air during platforming. Shadow eventually gains the ability to jump off walls and sprint, which is when the game curls its fist and buries it right in your ass. Cyber Shadow is incredibly difficult, but not in a bad way. Every single sequence is so tightly designed to require certain things from the player that if you're unable or unwilling to master its mechanics, the game will be much harder. You can also lessen this burden by thoroughly exploring levels and returning to old levels with new abilities, since there are several health and SP upgrades hidden around every stage. The last few of these upgrades are only available in the late game when you have all of your moves. And these sections and optional mini-bosses are some of the toughest 2D platforming I've played in years. This game looks like it could have released on the actual NES hardware. Obviously some of these cutscenes wouldn't be possible there, but it's commendable how close the look and feel Cyber Shadow gets to the classics. Cyber Shadow is the perfect game for fans of the original Ninja Gaiden trilogy.
I see you don't have a lifeguard here at your beach.
I'm not at the beach, this is a bathtub.
Katana Zero is a super slick hack and slash where you play as an assassin named Subject Zero, an amnesiac who takes orders from his incompetent psychiatrist. Zero has the ability to predict the future, which is how the game's slowdown mechanic is framed. Zero can temporarily slow down time, allowing him to approach and finger blast foes or use environmental elements such as lamps, tables, and dildos. Each level is split up into several different rooms, and it's up to the player to devise the best route to take out all enemies without taking damage, since you die in a single hit in this game. This one-hit kill mechanic seems pretty harsh at first, but goes a long way into making sure players are making logical decisions when traversing levels and choosing targets. It makes clearing a room much more impactful than if you could just run around taking bullets to the face. The story is told through dialogue trees between stages, and Zero can just interrupt conversations whenever he wants like a badass.
That's really cool. Where'd you get them?
Interrupting several times during the same conversation can make NPCs view Zero as rude, which is a nice touch, and there's an optional boss that's only unlocked through certain dialogue choices. There's 11 butthole clenching levels to play through here, with a hard mode that changes up enemy composition to make mistakes even more punishing. Hotline Miami fans should find a lot to love with Katana Zero because of its similar death mechanics and synthwave soundtrack. Give it a look if you're looking for a stiff challenge.
Small turtle house.
Unlike other games on this list, Celeste is a pure platformer. There's no traditional combat here, but what you do get is an impact drill to the urethra level of difficulty. This isn't Babby's first platformer. You take control of Madeline, a filthy little imp who tasks herself with climbing to the peak of Celeste Mountain because she's sad.
Depression? Isn't that just a fancy word for feeling bummed out? Dwight, you ignorant slut!
Madeline can run and jump, cling to walls for a short period of time, jump off walls, and air dash. In its base form, this is all the player is expected to learn for the first little bit. As the game goes on, the difficulty ramps up exponentially. Eventually you come across little gems that refill your air dash without having to touch the ground. platforms that move when you dash, and blocks that rocket Madeline out the other side when dashed into. These basic moves are used to traverse some of the most devious platforming levels in all the land. Levels are divided into single screen challenges, and every single screen is so precisely designed to pound your quivering hole repeatedly until you finally climax. There are 8 chapters to play through, with a 9th chapter added later as free DLC. Every level has a hidden cassette tape, among other collectibles, that unlock the level's B-side stage, which is like a hard mode version of that level that uses gimmicks and mechanics from the A-side in a more difficult way. If you manage to clear all B-sides, there's even more game with C-sides, which up the difficulty even further. Despite me highlighting the difficulty quite a bit, I don't think that should deter people from playing Celeste. If you can pull through, Celeste is one of the most intense and rewarding platformers ever made in my opinion. If you have incredibly heavy, table-breaking, ground-shattering, fat, hairy balls, Celeste is a great platformer.
Make it sound like my old lady's cat.
Which one?
The tabby.
Infernax is the incredibly violent, incestuous love child of Castlevania II, Simon's Quest, and The Legend of Zelda 2. You play as Alcador, who returns to his homeland after many months of teaching underprivileged children how to code, only to find it overrun by demons who are in the midst of dictating people's kappas. After learning that you have to destroy 6 evil orbs to gain access to the Demon Lord's lair, all of which are located in their own dungeon, Alcador sets out on his stupid adventure. Infernax is like a what-if scenario where Castlevania 2 ended up being a good game, and looks and feels like it would be right at home on the NES, but with much less clunky movement and controls. You start the game out with just basic equipment like your regular chainmail and a boring old mace, but through collecting gold that enemies drop, you can slowly upgrade your arsenal to a better demon beater and a diamond-encrusted codpiece. In Zelda style, every dungeon hides a new something for your character, usually new spells, such as a self-heal, a damage-dampening bubble, or lightning strikes. And after defeating a boss, a new ability. These new abilities open up new pathways in the overworld, allowing you to access more of the map and reach later dungeons. You get this self-hurling catapult attack that you use by charging up your regular attack, and then upward strike that lets you reach higher spots that regular jumps can't make, and to go up giants' bums. There's a smattering of side quests as well, some of which tie into the game's morality system. Making certain choices throughout the game, such as choosing to kill or spare certain people, or destroying a dam holding water back from a town, changes your character's moral standing, which in some cases affects the overworld map itself, and which one of the multiple endings you get. Infernax feels like a modern-day Castlevania 2. It's ultra gory, there are several dozen unique death animations for the main character, depending on how he dies, and there's a satisfying progression loop of getting a little bit stronger as you play. It has a fairly short runtime, which is fine because it also has multiple endings and a few hidden playable characters that have their own movesets and abilities. Give it a shot if you're a big Castlevania or Zelda fan. The Messenger starts out as a pretty straightforward homage to 8-bit platformers in the beginning. You play as a ninja on a mission to deliver a scroll that contains all 11 KFC herbs and spices, in order to rescue his clan from demons. You got the running, the jumping, and the ninja. I would have been perfectly happy if this is all the game was going for. But a few hours in, the Messenger introduces a time travel mechanic, in the form of these little portals that transport you between 8-bit and 16-bit renditions of the environments. It's not just a visual gimmick, although it does look awesome. These portals play a big role in the platforming and puzzles of the game. This is the point where the Messenger transitions into more of a Metroidvania as opposed to a level-based platformer. You revisit older areas to gather key items, with more areas opening up as you progress and unlock more abilities. All of this is contextualized through a meta-humor-filled narrative, with your little flying squirrel guy named Quarble spitting out jokes as he rescues you and returns you to checkpoints when you die. Killing enemies earns you time shards that you can exchange for character upgrades at the merchant, who is himself a #1 meta-humor bullshit guy, and has a little side stories he can tell you if you chat with him. The entire game plays beautifully. Puzzles and jumping challenges are tightly designed to work well with the game's movement speed, jump height, and numerous abilities to give each area a satisfying challenge. The story also hides some emotional depth as you get further along, which is not something I was expecting given how the game heaps on the humor throughout its runtime. If you're craving a super creative retro action game, The Messenger is perfect.
Peppermint schnapps makes me sloppy.
Bloodstained, Curse of the Moon is a retro-style companion title of its bigger project, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, that came about as an extra Kickstarter funding goal. The game follows a swordsman named Zangetsu, who is seeking revenge on evil demons that cursed him to always have an embarrassing brown stain on his pants. As you can probably tell from the visuals and gameplay, this game very closely resembles classic Castlevania titles, particularly Castlevania 3. You start off controlling just Zangetsu, jumping and spreading all them demon cheeks. There are branching paths within the levels that ultimately lead to boss fights. After bosses are killed, you can recruit more characters to play as. There's Girl Simon Belmont, a magic man named Alfred, and a vampire named Gebel.
Don't come to my house or else I'll suck your dick.
Each of these characters have their own moveset that is well suited for different situations. You can instantly cycle between these characters with a single button press as you need them, but if one dies, they're unavailable for the rest of the level, which may prevent you from taking certain paths. Curse of the Moon was developed by Inti Creates in only 6 months, which makes sense because this is a smaller scale project and definitely shows in the girth of the game. My first playthrough took about 2 hours more or less, and I got some replay value through higher difficulties and multiple endings. If you are at all a Castlevania fan, old school or modern, Curse of the Moon is a short but sweet, bite-sized experience.
I got a little Chun-Li within me.
Steel Assault is a super fast-paced, chaotic throwback to arcade quarter quaffers. You play as Lou Sassel, a resistance soldier out for revenge on a dictator named Magnum Dong. In just a few seconds, you're thrown right into the orgy, with your main method of offense being an 8-direction whip that doubles as a traversal tool. You navigate the levels with a jump, a double jump, a short slide dodge, and using your whip as a zipline to connect different parts of the environment. The biggest sore spot with Steel Assault would be its length. It's about as long as my wiener. Despite the brutal difficulty, an initial playthrough will take most players under an hour. It's a really short game, but it encourages multiple playthroughs with higher difficulty modes, including an arcade mode that removes all checkpoints and only gives you a single life. Short duration also makes this a great speedrun game, which is something the 2D action game genre really excels at, even though speedrunning is pretty niche. If the short runtime is too much of a sticking point for you, I highly encourage you wait for a sale, since Steel Assault really is a super slick and fun 2D action game. Thank you very much for watching. If you want more, grab your sloppy spotted dick and slap it right on that subscribe button. Hope to see you in the next one.